This is a call for vengeance. Welcome to today's show. This is important, very important that people listen to this video to have a psychological understanding of what is going on. I've been talking about the civil war that is manufactured for a few years now, and finally people are starting to see, because of what's happening at the border, where this is headed. And they don't realize that all of these seeds have been getting planted in their minds for years about states with different rules and different laws and making them appeal as conservative states where there's no mandates and liberal states where there are. Then the Roe v. Wade stuff is the same thing. And it's very important to keep an eye on what's going on with the border. Yesterday, not many people watched the video. I recommend you watch the video about what's going on with the convoy of truckers. Once again, the same narrative that we heard in Canada, same script, who are going down to the Texas border. They're saying there's about 700,000 at least of these truckers. This is a false flag. This is a government operation, okay? Doesn't mean that some people who are really organically aren't going to show up and do something about it because they're fed up. And they're fed up because they're being gaslit, okay? This is what they want. I say it all the time, and people don't understand. They're like, well, what do you think? We're supposed to do nothing about it. Do you understand that they're causing these problems to make you do what they want you to do? So the things that you think you're naturally doing here, like fighting back against this, is what they want. Okay, what you really should be doing is no longer, looking at these people as politicians in this country and looking them all as terrorists, as people who have committed treason, Republican and Democrat. Okay, the things that they're doing, okay, aren't to drive you crazy because they don't like you. They hate all of us, left and right. They're doing it because they're trying to force you out. They are trying to push you out into these red states. And the danger of that, because people out there are going to go, that's great. I don't want to live amongst these crazy liberals anymore. I don't want to live in a smart city. Okay? All this stuff, yes, it makes sense, but it's a danger and it's a threat. Why? Because the conservative places, when they have all of these people in one spot, they're going to be sitting ducks. They cannot bomb. They cannot do these things. They cannot create false flags in states because all states have a mixture of people in them. They have a mixture of people who are communists, who are going to comply. Then they have a mixture of people who are Christian, conservative, who aren't. And they want to rid the earth of Christianity. They want to rid the earth of people who are capitalists or have conservative ideologies, okay? And you will be a sitting duck when this is done. And that's why there's so many things going on at once that are going to gaslight people into this. So people are irate about the border, and then these other stories come out, and we have to focus on these. So let's take a look at some of the other stories that are surrounding it that recently came out, okay? We can start with Marjorie Taylor Greene, who I've warned about for years. These politicians on the conservative side are there to serve as mouthpieces. They talk about talking points that make people get lured and sucked in to think that they're there working for them. They're not. They're part of the divide. Taylor Greene continually tweeting out about a national divorce. We need a national divorce. We need to get away from these people. These people are crazy, et cetera, et cetera. All the liberals look at people like Taylor Greene and Boebert as the same thing, as crazy psychopaths. And that's what they all are in Congress. They're the real psychopaths. They're the real ones who are doing all of this. Okay, so she's tweeting out about the national divorce. It's giving more attention to the national divorce. And people every day more and more want one. So to get what they want, which is a national divorce to divide us into states, they're doing all of these things. Roe v. Wade. Okay, the stuff I just talked about with how the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Biden when they're supposed to be a corrupt conservative Supreme Court. But they went with Biden on this one with the border. Right? Huh? How would that make any sense? Well, it doesn't, and it's not supposed to. You're just supposed to go along with it without questioning it. And if you do, well, you're going to be silenced for questioning and pointing out what common sense should be showing everyone, okay? So at the same time as all of that stuff with the border, with the trucker thing, which is not organic, with Taylor Greene talking about national divorce, these are the other stories that are out there, okay? The feds are teaming up with big banks to target conservatives. You've probably heard about this. As Christians, of course, when you hear this, you're naturally going to be angry. That's why you have to pull out and try to understand what they're doing here. Do they hate God? Yes. Do they hate the Bible? Yes. But guess what? The conservative states, they're ultimately trying to get rid of the Bible too, because these are all members of secret societies who hate God. They all believe Lucifer is their God. Do not believe these people like Ted Cruz when they tickle your ears and pretend that they're Christians. They are not Christians. Okay? They do those things to pretend like they're there to fight for Christianity, to lure you in. And that's what they're doing. So this latest story from Fox News, which of course Wouldn't you think that if this was fully, everybody out there is communist, which they are, but wouldn't they eliminate Fox News? This is done by design. They keep Fox News there to herd the conservatives. That's all it's there for. So they put out an article about how the government is working with the big banks and they are looking at people who are shopping at certain sporting goods stores or buying MAGA, MAGA shirts, et cetera, et cetera. It says on January 17, Fox reported that following the 6th day of January in 2021, federal investigators asked banks to search and filter customer transactions by using terms like MAGA and Trump. Here's the part you need to listen to. In addition, the Treasury Department's Office of Stakeholder Integration and Engagement in the Strategic Operations of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network told financial institutions that purchasing religious texts like the Bible could be an indicator of extremist activity. If true, such discriminatory actions by the federal government would constitute an apparently blatant violation of the First Amendment's protection of religious liberty. Okay? They're obviously saying this and putting this wording out there because they want to drive people like us crazy. They're trying to push us to the brink of going along with what they ultimately want, which is dividing us into conservative states and Democrat states. And you might go, well, that's a great thing, but that's what they're doing by design. So by going along with it, you're going along with their plan, okay? You're not going, oh, yeah, I'm finally going to do something about it. I'm going to get out of California and I'm going to go to a conservative state. Have you heard that seed planting over the last 5 years? How many videos I've done on that with the low-level celebrities who are like, I fled California. I went here. And they just keep putting it on TV over and over and over. Scott Baio's, people nobody really cares about. Or Mark Wahlberg, right? Oh, I left California too, right? So they're planting seeds for people to leave states based on political ideologies, which has never happened in our lifetime, obviously, right? So now you get to a point where they go, okay, well, I'm not allowed to speak freely. I'm not allowed to have a Bible now. I'm not going to live amongst these people. You get to a point where you're going to go along with this. And so I understand where people go, well, then what's the resolution? How do we stop it? The left and the right cannot be divided. Okay, people need to come back to being sane. Okay? People out there have to come back to being sane, but they won't probably, right? Because the technology out there has them under mind control. But if we're herded in states away from one another, it leaves us as sitting ducks. And that's what I talk about over on the website. I've been talking about how we have to be very careful of this because there's going to be lots of caveats to do this. And eventually we're likely going to have to go along with it. But everyone has to understand, this is the plan of the conservatives and the Democrats. This isn't done by design where everyone's like, hey, Trump's a hero, he's a revolutionary, he's breaking away from the communist liberals, and he's bringing everyone into conservative states to save them. No, there's a bigger plan at play here. You know how easy it'll be for them to do one of these invasions and say it's China and say it's another country when every conservative is sitting in specific states that they could just go in with military and just attack all the civilians? That's what they ultimately want to do, because if people don't want to go along with their new world order, they're going to eliminate you. Okay? They're going to let the rest of these people live as slaves in their enslavement societies, in their smart cities, etc., their green energy cities, etc. But the rest of the people think that they're going to be freed from the insanity because they're making it to a point where nobody wants to live like this anymore. And I could be a perfect example of that if I wasn't thinking rationally. Right? If I was thinking emotionally, I'd be in. I'd be like, I want to go to a conservative. I want to speak freely again. I want to be able to be on a platform where I could speak freely, right? But everyone goes, well, you go to BitChute, you go to these conservative platforms. Oh, right, so you could stay in the conservative hive mind versus the liberal hive mind. I'd rather infiltrate places like YouTube or places where there's podcasts, where there's all sorts of people, because we shouldn't be in vacuums on the left or the right. Everybody should be speaking together freely and openly and understanding what's actually going on. So I could easily fall into that trap and I could say, yeah, I'm fed up. But I'm also smart enough to realize that all this stuff started when Trump went in 2016, because that's when censorship began. That's when Operation Warp Speed actually went down. But conservatives have the wool over their eyes still, because they hate the other side so bad, because they've made it that way, because they keep putting this insane crap on TV and normalizing this stuff in every town with the libraries, with the kids, with the trans. This is strategically done by them. They're trying to drive you nuts. They're trying to make it unlivable for one side versus the other. Okay. And now this is another story I want to look at. Okay. Because this is from Bitcoin.com. And I've exposed Bitcoin, right? Here are these things with these people who think that they're awake, right? How many people out there are like, oh, yeah, you know, the conspiracy theorists are right. We're all right. They consider themselves people like me now, right? People like you now. They consider themselves in the know, but they're not. They're being given and they're following the people who are still government agents who are giving them little bits of truth. So they think that Bitcoin and digital currency is an escape from the Federal Reserve, right? I've warned about this for a decade. Right? Everyone's like, oh, we're free from the Federal Reserve. Bitcoin, they hate it. They don't want it. Oh, right. That's why they made everybody who's invested in it billionaires overnight, right? Ethereum, Bitcoin, etc. This is done by design as well. So what we have to watch is what happens with currency, right? Amid rising national divorce talks, this is from Bitcoin's website, exploring the potential impact on US dollar in hypothetical second civil war. The discussion of a potential second civil war has intensified following a statement from Texas Governor Greg Abbott asserting that the federal government is neglecting its responsibilities to secure the border. The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states, Abbott explained in his letter published on January 24th. The executive branch of the U.S. has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. The result is that he has smashed records for illegal immigration. So then all the conservative states come out, as you all know, they all side with Texas. They say we're going to go against the federal government. We're going to go against Biden. Right? We're going to be free. We believe in states. We believe in freedom. This is part of the psyop of all of this, thinking that these conservative states are going to be free because they're not. Okay? I guarantee you, if people like us get herd into the conservative states, and the only way that would really happen for someone like me, and I'm sure that you feel the same way, is with the mandates, because the potion is going to be the big thing that forces people out. The big thing, which is why we all have to wait for disease X. It's going to be the numero uno. Because we can all look at this stuff and go, I don't really care. You can even, obviously the stuff with the LGBT is driving people crazy too. And, that's like just more icing on the cake. But ultimately, for liberals, not being able to get abortions is what's going to drive them along with the LGBT stuff. And for conservatives, the magic potion is going to be the big thing. So we're preparing for the next wave here no one's paying attention to, which is all going to be psychological, because they're just going to tell you it's here. Everyone's going to believe it's here. The states are going to put in the mandates that they've already passed laws to put in, and then it's going to force people's hand, right? So I guarantee if someone like me is in a red state and I'm speaking against the red government, if I'm in one of those states and I'm doing videos like I currently do, and I'm talking about Donald Trump, and I'm saying that he's one of them, and I'm saying that these are honeypots, so be careful. They will either say, silence me, the same way that's happening right now, or they'll tell me to go, they'll throw me into, say you're going to a liberal state then. That's the way it's going to be. So it's going to be communism one way or the other. You're not going to be in these conservative states and be able to speak freely. And then all the conservative, hive-minded, brainwashed people who think that they're free and don't realize they're communists, they're going to be agreeing with the government saying, yeah, you can't question Trump. Who are you to question Trump? He saved us from all this. He broke us away from the insanity. He broke us away from the New World Order. But it really, in reality, is part of the New World Order. It's just a different name. Instead of Smart City, Freedom City. All right? What is it going to be? Freedom currency and all this stuff? Does anyone understand this? It's driving me crazy how people don't, but I can understand how they don't. Because when you get so worked up into this stuff, if you don't pull yourself out to see what they're doing, you think that I'm making this decision. I'm going to the truckers rally. I'm going to a conservative state. That's not a free decision that you're making. That's a decision that they're making for you by doing all these things to make you want that. Instead of saying, what's the real problem here? Who's causing this? Oh, the liberals and the Republicans, because the Republicans are doing nothing in Congress at all, which is their job. They've failed the system because they're deliberately failing it. And then going, hey, you know what? It's time to take down the mainstream media, because they're the ones who are planting all these seeds in people's heads about kids changing genders and all this other stuff that's driving everyone nuts, that's raising suicide rates. That's what the people need to do. Not go where they're trying to tell you to. Everyone's going to think that this is some free decision to go to conservative states. And they're going to be like, we won, we did it, we escaped, we're not with them anymore, right? And then what? Then what? Then the next thing, right? The next waves of psyops and false flags where everybody's sitting together and they can wipe out Christianity as we know it all at once. That's what my fear is. So the Bitcoin website is talking about where the currency is going from here. They want you to already think about the currency and Bitcoin and digital currency. You've just heard Trump. I just put a video up on it. I believe it's on the website. Well, it's definitely on the website. I don't know if it was on YouTube and it got removed. even though I'm a new YouTuber, where Trump was just giving the lines that you want to hear, right? Talking about how he's going to get rid of this Fed currency, Fed now. We don't need that digital currency. That's crazy. The audience out there cheers. He's like, oh, you know about it? As if, he's pretending like, oh, I didn't know people knew about it. Of course he knew. These are things that the people out there want to hear, but they're hearing it from people who are agents. So they're luring you, right? This is like the old, the mindset of a child predator, right? And he's got a lollipop and ice cream, and he's like, come get some candy. Well, that's what Trump is. That's what these conservative figures are. They're not here to help us. They're here to hurt us. And everyone needs to get that through their head. Unbelievable, this trucker thing that's going on. I hope some of the points I made make sense to you. They should make sense. Okay, I have to continue and push further on this because this is very, very important. It's very important. And you might say, well, what are we supposed to do? You just said we're going to end up with no choice. Well, we're going to have to figure some things out. And we're going to have to watch this closely. And we're going to have to help pull people out of it. Because again, this is all gaslit. This is why they're doing this. If they ultimately want us in these separate states, which is what they want, then do you think by you going to these states, okay, that you're making a free decision? They're telling you this and they're doing this because they want you to do it for them. So you going to those states is you doing what they want. Problem, reaction, solution, right? These are all basic New World Order mottos. They're pushing you where they want to push you. They're forcing you to do it, but making you think that you're freely going to do it. And they're doing it by driving you nuts with letting the border be open. And it's both sides, with removing Roe v. Wade and, women's rights. With the LGBT stuff they're shoving down everyone's throat. With freezing bank accounts, right? Because that, just like I said in the previous video, that's what's coming with the trucker thing. America's first bank account freeze of people who are protesting the federal government's that article I just read you. They're tracking people who are buying Bibles. I can't live in a society like that. Well, obviously none of us want to live in a society where they ban Bibles. So we should be doing something about it. And doing something about it isn't doing what they want you to do, which is going to conservative states. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I thank everybody for being here. More to come. Share this video. Get the word out. People out there are completely lost. They really are. Thank you guys again. God bless all of you as always and your families.